The other day I made a video on TikTok answering the question, where are all the left-leaning mommy bloggers? Let's watch. Where are all the left-leaning mommy bloggers? We're here. We just don't exploit our kids on social media, so we don't reach the same levels of viewership that traditional mommy bloggers do, because we've opted out of catering to the core audience of pedophiles. It's no coincidence. The confluence of right-wing extremism, the rise of tradwives, the exploitation of children on social media, mommy bloggers and family channels, a political party intent on limiting women's contributions to society, a regressive agenda that wants to relegate women to the home and further repeal our hard-fought rights, and a class of billionaires who use their wealth and power to exploit women and abuse children. All of these things go hand in hand. After filming that, I realized I had a lot more to say, so I want to expand on that in this video. I want to talk about this cultural shift and the normalization of right-wing culture. It's propaganda. Yes, it's subtle, but that's how propaganda works best. And yes, it is that deep.
No, because most of the time it really is that deep. Men calling women females, but men. It's that deep. The rise in the popularity of Pilates coinciding with the return of skinny talk, the rise in tradwife culture, and a push for return to traditional gender roles, that deep. Crash test dummies, cell phone size, office room temperature, all being based on the average male body. It's that deep. Women starting to outnumber men in biology and it suddenly being reconsidered as a soft science. It is that deep. Men having a strong preference for women who shave their pubic hair. It's that deep. Just because I can connect the dots that you can't doesn't mean it's not that deep.
There was an article in The Guardian recently called "The Right Has Won the Family, My Relentless Search for Lefty Mommy Bloggers," where author Katie wrote about watching mom content on social media. She wrote, "Occasionally, when my cerebrum is not completely smoothed over by a beautiful woman beckoning me to get ready with her, and anxiety starts to creep in. What, I wonder, are this woman's politics? Has she ever given us a hint? Is she registered to vote? Is there any chance she, like me, is outraged by ICE raids, book bans, our government's comparative dismal maternal support system, or slippery slide into fascism? Does she know there are midterms this year? Mama, blink twice." In my ideal algorithm, I would get served posts to assuage my doubts. I would watch nursery hauls of a mother whose progressiveness I did not doubt. I would know that she dreads the realities of the climate crisis. I would listen to a parent describe her weekly meal prep for a family of 4, and not wonder if she was politically aligned with the men in the government stripping food safety regulations. Maybe tips on how to get your daily steps in with a newborn would include showing up at protests or delivering mutual aid groceries. Because in real life, I was raised by and hope to be a mother who is both fluent in the chaotic and comforting mundanity of domesticity and enraged by the systems that diminish and destroy families and livelihoods. I just don't see that much of it in my online spheres. I relate to that so wholly. There just is not enough of that content online. And the content that there is doesn't get pushed out by the algorithms. Last year, a TikToker, Kate Glavin, made a video about why left-leaning mom content is so necessary. Let's watch.
I would happily watch stay-at-home mom content if it emphasized the reality of being a mom in America, that it is so challenging, it's one of the fucking hardest things you could possibly do, and it's so incredibly isolating because we don't have sufficient economic legal protections in place. There's no paid maternity leave. There is no universal childcare. How are you supposed to be a mom in America without access to money and resources? Tradwife content reinforces this idea that being a mom is this very seamless, easy act because these women come from an abundance of wealth. It's negating the fact that we need systemic protection for moms. Our economy doesn't value care. And what do I mean by that? Maybe you've heard the care economy before, but if you had to raise a child for a single year and you had to pay for a nanny, a maid, everything to have that child have a good quality of life, it would be upwards of $100,000 to care for that child, and our economy doesn't fucking care. Lack of support that we have for caregiving for mothers creates a huge problem where women are leaving the labor market. We know this statistically speaking, and when women are reliant on a man in a relationship for financial support and the man has financial dominance over her, this is where domestic violence happens. This is what second wave feminists were fighting for. Your right to an education, your right to have a job without discrimination, your right to abortion and having bodily autonomy, your right to have your own bank account. That was only 60 years ago that women weren't allowed to have their own bank account. Glamorize all this tradwife content to young impressionable women who are maybe growing up in the world without realizing that women didn't have access to certain things, and they're seeing like, oh, I just want to stay at home and I just want to have 8 kids and I want my man to make all of the money. They're not seeing the issues with that because they are too young. And so for us to go back and be pushing all of this very conservative patriarchal content onto young women is bad.
I agree. It's bad. Some of these connections are more obvious than others. Like obviously conservatism, right-wing ideologies, and the prevalence of tradwives are easy to connect. But we also need to look at how the existence of OG mommy bloggers and YouTube family channels opened the door for tradwives. As a generalization, a lot of this content exploits children. Let me show you what I mean. This is Savannah LeBrant, who has 30 million TikTok followers. She's been creating content for like a decade now, and almost all of it revolves around her daughter, Everly. Everly is 13 now, but Savannah started posting content of her when she was a toddler. At the time, TikTok didn't even exist. They were using Musical.ly and Instagram. Her channel now also focuses on her other kids. She married another influencer, Cole LeBrant, and they immediately had like 4 kids back to back. And they fall very squarely into the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed family that the right loves. But in all honesty, there would be no channel without Everly. Yes, Savannah could post content and it would be fine, whatever, she's kind of boring. But the interesting part of her channel is her daughter Everly. I'm not gonna show her face, but here's a clip that they posted on Musical.ly years ago.
Skip!
This is a cute video, it is, but I scrolled all the way back on her TikTok and this is the only video I could find that didn't closely show Everly's face. To be completely honest, it's creepy. There are so many people in their comments all the time, like sexualizing Everly from the time she was a little girl. She's only 13 now. Like, they shouldn't be sexualizing her now, but they are. And they've been begging for her to get her own TikTok for years. Cole and Savannah know that their content with Everly and their other kids performs way better than content of just them. So they exploit that. They use that because they want to make money and they want to maintain their fame. And they aren't the only ones. There are so many family channels out there like this, and it's not just conjecture to say that it's exploitation. Journalist Fortessa Latifi heard from parents directly that exploitative content performs the best. Here, let's watch.
Family bloggers and mom influencers, content where kids are sick, sad, or injured does the best. And I know that because they told me. While I was writing my book, Like, Follow, Subscribe, Influencer Kids and the Cost of a Childhood Online, multiple parent creators told me on the record that content where their kid is sick, injured, or crying does way better than other content. You'll be able to read more about this in my book, but I think this is so interesting because for a long time I've realized that shares and virality are higher when a child is in a vulnerable position. But what's fascinating to me is that the parents know that. And it kind of makes you wonder about the ethics of recording a child in that position. I really do have a lot of sympathy for mom influencers and family vloggers, but I find it difficult to understand the instinct to record your child when they're sick or injured or crying. And it's even more difficult for me to understand that they know how well this content does. But you would be mind blown to hear what people told me on the record in my book. Like, I couldn't believe it myself sometimes.
The reason I'm talking about these family channels is because they are essential to the alt-right pipeline for women. We talk a lot about the alt-right pipeline on social media, but a lot of times the examples people use are male-centric. Big surprise. We know about the growth of the manosphere and what the red pill movement looks like for men. We know how people start by watching Joe Rogan, then see Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro, and then they end up at Andrew Tate. It's the pipeline from gym bro to alpha male to misogynist with a manifesto. Here's a little explanation from the Feminist Majority Foundation. The pipeline often works through a progression of influencers. Mainstream figures like Rogan serve as gateway content, encouraging viewers to question conventional narratives. Self-help and masculinity influencers like Jordan Peterson offer pseudo-intellectual frameworks for understanding social issues. More overtly political commentators begin introducing explicit ideological content. Figures like Tate present radical views packaged with lifestyle aspirations. Finally, viewers may engage with explicit extremist content and communities. And this has been going on for years. I actually talked about it in a TikTok video a few years ago. Let's watch.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to explain this, but to start, we have to go back to 1999. The idea of the red pill comes from the Matrix. Basically, you're offered 2 pills. With the blue pill, everything stays the same. You live your normal life. With the red pill, you're offered this life-changing truth and you go down the rabbit hole. That's an oversimplification, but you get it. So basically, the idea of taking the red pill caught on culturally as this way of like seeking the truth. Now, you can probably guess where this is going because most people who say things about seeking the truth are conspiracy theorists. And that's eventually where we get with the red pill. But before we get to full-blown conspiracy theory, the term was kind of adopted by men's rights activists in like 2010 to 2015. Basically, it was like men who were seeking the truth about women. There were forums and discussion boards set up for men to ask other men questions about women instead of just asking women themselves. And normally it was things like, why can't I get a date? As these forums typically tend to go, it really quickly spiraled into misogynistic shit. You know, the kind of hateful and vitriolic language that end up in manifestos. And these same men who are trying to seek the truth about women also tend to be the ones asking really problematic questions about race, sexuality, science, government, Judaism. They're the people who say things like, don't you think it's weird that white people were more likely to get COVID? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just asking a question. Which A, is absolutely not true, but it's the kind of shit they say. B, plants these theories in other people's minds. They'll say things like, don't you think it's weird that women can just divorce you whenever they want to take your money? With no fault divorce, that's just what happens. I mean, I'm just saying. Which again, isn't true, but it plants these little seeds of doubt into people's minds. Once people have heard enough of this fear-mongering, edge of conspiracy theory kind of stuff, they'll start to do their own research. And by that, I mean listen to prominent misogynistic podcasters, watch YouTube videos, find forums with dubious references. This act of seeking the truth by falling down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories is what people mean when they refer to taking the red pill. And in most liberal left-wing circles, we see this as a negative, because believing conspiracy theories is dangerous and leads to so much bigotry. But a lot of right-wing extremists, people like Alex Jones, hold this idea of taking the red pill on a pedestal. To right-wing extremists, the more extreme you are, the better. The more conspiracies you believe, the better. Because these conspiracies always benefit straight white Christian men.
And the pipeline is extremely effective, especially for young men. According to a recent study, Gen Z males are twice as likely as baby boomers to believe wives should obey their husbands. And although the numbers were lower, the trends were similar for women. Among women, 18% of Gen Z, but only 6% of baby boomers think that women should obey their husbands. And for women, the alt-right pipeline looks a little softer. It starts by looking at TikTok to get tips on sourdough starters or advice for non-toxic cleaning products. Then it's living off the land and making fire cider and recipes for your own cough drops. Then it's questioning the medical system. Then drinking raw milk and debating the efficacy of vaccines. It's looking at YouTube for toddler activities, then being fed stay-at-home mom content, then seeing more content about traditional gender roles, about men being the providers, about serving your husband. It's a slow process. You probably don't even realize it's happening. It's like a frog boiling to death. And even if you don't actively change your lifestyle to fit what you're seeing, your mindset is changing. The first time you see this kind of content, you might be like, why is this lady drinking raw milk? Or like, I don't care about seeing someone make Cheez-Its from scratch. I'll give my kids store-bought Cheez-Its. But the more you see this kind of content, the more normal it becomes. The more reasonable it feels. The less radical it seems. Here are two videos from a creator, Jess Britbitch, that describe it perfectly.
It's not women belong in the kitchen. It's one of the most powerful gifts that women possess, the ability to nurture. Creating loving meals, baking with intention. Women thrive when they care for the home. It's not banned birth control. It's why would you disrupt one of the most natural parts of being a woman? I felt my brain fog lift as soon as I went off hormonal birth control. Our cycles flow with the moon. They're part of our divine feminine rhythm. Honoring that instead of suppressing it with chemicals is the highest version of self-love. It's not women don't belong in the workplace. It's when I left the hustle and grind of the office, my body finally went out of fight or flight. I was sitting in my masculine in the workplace and I didn't even realize it. Slowing down and choosing a soft feminine life felt like coming home to myself. It's not women should be submissive to men in relationships. It's when I finally stepped into my feminine, my dating life flourished. It allowed my man to step into his masculine and truly protect me. I realized that dating was so hard for me because I wasn't sitting in my divine feminine. It's not women shouldn't have their own bank accounts. It's marry a provider so you can go to Pilates on a random Tuesday morning. He might not know what's under the tree, but he paid for it. Your desire to be cared for is natural. It allows you to fulfill your feminine while he feeds his biological need to provide. It's not men and women aren't equal. It's feminism sold women a lie. Feminism wants you to ignore the things that actually make you a woman. Your softness, your nurturing nature, your desire for connection and family. Did you know that the male brain is biologically wired towards logic, while women are biologically oriented towards compassion and creating harmony? Men may be the head of the home, but women are the heart. Embracing that is true empowerment. It's not embrace traditional gender norms or get out. It's masculine and feminine energy are meant to complement each other. When a man and a woman come together in marriage, their natural strengths create harmony in the home. His direction and steadiness, her softness and intuition. It builds a peaceful, lasting home. It's the divine dance of the masculine and the feminine.
You can't tell me you haven't seen this stuff. Like, it is everywhere. The second you look for any sort of content on like parenting, gardening, home stuff, this is what you get. You might start looking for sourdough starter tips and get a video from a girl in her random Brooklyn kitchen making sourdough, but then the next video you see is someone in the Midwest who's making sourdough and also like raising farm animals, and then suddenly you're getting ballerina farm. It doesn't take long before you're being fed Christian nationalist propaganda by the algorithm. And this alt-right pipeline is really powerful for men and for women. And the truth is, there's no left-wing pipeline that exists in the same way. On the left, we're not eschewing birth control in favor of quiverful light ideologies. If you don't know what the quiverful movement is, it's what the Duggars subscribe to. It's this conservative Christian position that sees large families as blessings from God and tells people not to use birth control and obviously not to get abortions. The term quiverful comes from the Bible verse, "Children are like arrows in the hand of a warrior. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full." So basically, have as many kids as humanly possible so that you can spread the gospel further. It goes hand in hand with people who are worried about the birth rate falling and white families not having enough children. It's all part of the same patriarchal, white, male, conservative Christian thing. On the left, instead of announcing the birth of our 9th kid whose name is like Feather, we're actively avoiding contributing to the pro-natalist movement. We're using our platforms to remind everyone that pregnancy and parenthood should be a choice. Having children should be a decision that every single person gets to make for themselves. On the left, we're not doing the traditional influencer thing of pushing products to people. Most of us aren't doing Shein try-on hauls or weekly pantry restocks from Target or Amazon unboxing because we ourselves are trying to divest from the very billionaire-owned companies that exploit workers and fund right-wing campaigns. One of the reasons that people consume so much of this conservative coded content is because it's aesthetic and aspirational. It's framed as the American dream while ignoring the American reality. And as much as people on the left may want an escape, we have to recognize that the real world exists. Part of the reason that people are getting so fed up with traditional influencer culture is because it's so unattainable. People who are struggling to pay rent don't want to see your luxury shopping haul. Leftist mom content creators, we recognize that we can't be an escape. We can't make our content just entertainment because we won't stand idly by in moments of preventable tragedy. We won't be silent in the face of oppression. And we know that parenting is inherently political. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Ileana. I talk about the intersection of politics and parenting. I'm on every social channel as @IleanaJustine. I'd love to have you follow me. I talk about news, culture, politics, motherhood, being a millennial, and I'm so glad you're here with me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.